part for reasons I can't really get into. But we will probably in the future, but we are now streaming, and I'm streaming right now, as a matter of fact, so don't use the language I did a minute ago here, on Facebook Live. So you can actually see the wonderful studio that I have here and go on from there. Anyway, but yeah, so you can actually see this later on our Facebook page. If you haven't liked our Facebook page before, go do that. And it's actually something you could perhaps even link up on All for Tennessee, and just saying, you know, on your own Facebook, hey, we could link this interview, in other words, to the Facebook page of All for Tennessee after it's done. Yeah. I mean, you'll only see my handsome face, but I said you'll only see my handsome face, but we'll be able to do the conversation.
It's clear at 42.
Okay, let me go and do this here.
I've
got my
in Johnson
things
City,
right here. Throw that away. I've got so much. Oh, geez, I'm not as organized as I wish I was. Let's see here. I got a list of questions that I had here that I was going to ask you. Where are they? Not it.
Gift ideas for everyone.
Be able to find them, I'm sure. Hold on, we're coming back here now. Here's one of the questions I was wondering. Here they go. I know many of you are watching on Facebook Live. And folks, if you are watching on Facebook Live, I want to thank Cindy down at Cindy's Hair Salon in, I guess they're on the way to, of all places, Rock Creek out of Irwin. But this is what deals with this wonderful haircut we have. I also want to thank Computer Guy, who is... You know, if you're watching on Facebook and you need some computer repair, remember Computer Guy, who is just one of the reasons why we're on the air here at 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities. Computer Guy in Irwin. He does great work at a low price. A guy who does great work in covering the Tennessee Volunteers is Caleb Calhoun. We were talking to him in the first half hour. And Jeremy Pruitt, you like the hire, but you do have a few reservations. What are those reservations? Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com.
Well, Mark, it's not necessarily all about reservations. I want to get into those a little bit later today when I write about some of the negatives about hiring. I wrote about the positives about hiring him just recently. But as far as the guys that I knew Phil Fulmer would be looking for as athletic director, I think Jeremy Pruitt is a very good hire. I think before people try to accuse Fulmer of settling, I think we need to give him credit. He took a chance on Chris Peterson. You know, we know the story about him interviewing him. So Fulmer was actually trying to go for a big name and going for the splash. But when that didn't work out, he went with a pretty solid, stable hire in Jeremy Pruitt, who could turn out to work out really well. My first issue with it, though, is I do think because of the guys you knew Fulmer would be looking for, he left some more qualified guy off the list. I still maintain that Jeff Brom or Mike Leach would have been a better hire than Jeremy Pruitt. And if we're to believe the reports last week, and I am to believe them, I can believe them that both of those guys we were close to inking deals. The Vols, I mean, we're close to inking deals with. I would have to say that I'm not. I have to be a little bit critical that Fulmer went for Jeremy Pruitt over those guys. But at the same time, he's a great hire for what Phil Fulmer was looking for. We've seen what Kirby Smart did with Georgia. Jeremy Pruitt does have a pretty solid track record of success. So I like the hire for Tennessee. I just think that Fulmer did pass up some more qualified hires.
I would point out that I think that Smart had a little bit more to work with when he inherited the Georgia job than what Pruitt will when he inherits the Tennessee position. But let me ask you, going to ultimately coordinators, that's who the search boiled down to. Do you think that is more a product of, well, maybe the Tennessee job isn't as desirable as, say, the Washington job? Or is it a case of, you know what, Phil Fulmer always let it be known, hey, if you ever want me back as a coach, I'll be here for you, you know. I mean, that was always said when Tennessee coaching searches came about. And now as the athletic director, I can't imagine that it'll be hands-off with the football program. Could it be that head coaches did not necessarily want to have a meddlesome AD, and so that limited the search to coordinators? Have you thought about that, Caleb Calhoun?
I thought it was possible, but I don't know how true that is. Again, we've heard those reports that Fulmer was interviewing a lot of people. Then we saw specific names. I do tend to believe he was interviewing more. Given the nature of how Tennessee's coach search kind of turned into a cluster pretty early on, we all know that, I think that there were still better hires out there than Jeremy Pruitt, but not too many. Again, I only named two specific ones, Jeff Brom and Mike Leach. And I think either one of those guys would have come to Knoxville in a heartbeat, and I'm still pretty convinced of that. Outside of that, though, once you get past those two guys, I mean, before the cluster happened, it sounded like Dan Mullen nor Chip Kelly were interested in the ball. I think you and I both kind of agreed that although John Gruden and the Groomers were exciting, it was a bit of a pipe dream, and the guy hadn't coached college since the early 90s. So I think that at that point you go for really good hires, and if you can't get the splash big ones, and Fulmer tried with Chris Peterson, then you go for an assistant, and there were some good assistants out there. Pruitt was always on my list of top 10 assistants that Tennessee should hire. I actually thought Brian Dabble, the Alabama offensive coordinator, was a better hire. Mm-hmm. But Pruitt was still on there. I know some people talked about Jim Bob Cooter, but again, Jim Bob Cooter's only got NFL coaching experience. He's never coached at the college level, and you and I both talked about how he has a bit of baggage that he brings himself with him.
There was the DUI, and will he be able to recruit? Absolutely. Hey, we're talking to Caleb Calhoun, all for Tennessee, and now as it gets to be the off-season of Tennessee football, this is a website, I'm telling you. First of all, I really liked your analysis on allfortennessee.com. I found it to be objective, hard-hitting, not a bunch of homers. And I do think there have been a lot of homers in covering Tennessee or listening to some of the rival talk shows that I am forced to do in my position, Caleb. So I want to compliment you on that. But let's just give you this example. I know from a national standpoint, well, I had a friend, for instance, from back in Pittsburgh, and he said, boy, you know what? Our Pee Wee team could handle a coaching search better than what Tennessee did. I mean, that's what they're saying out there. Meanwhile, you do get a sentiment from inside Tennessee, and some from even media types, of, well, the fans took back the program. What do you think? Did the fans take back the Tennessee football program?
Yeah, and I think they did it, but I think I don't know if they necessarily took it back or they took control, but I think they did save it from certain levels of incompetence. I mean, we know this this isn't a coincidence that John Curry and Jimmy Haslam were trying to sneak Greg Schiano in through the back door on a Sunday afternoon during NFL games to try to catch people off guard with the hire, because they knew it wasn't going to be a popular hire. And why would Tennessee had just fired a coach that was coach of the year twice in the Big East and won back-to-back Big East championships. Why would they hire a coach who was 500 in the Big East to replace him? And so they knew it would be an unpopular hire. And then on top of that, I don't even think that Paul Twitter didn't just kill the Greg Schiano hire. I'm pretty sure they killed the Dave Doran hire too, because I don't know if you remember, that was kind of, those rumblings were starting again when Tennessee was interviewing Dave Doran, and that would have been a terrible hire for Tennessee. NC State wants him gone right now.
Yeah, Yes, go ahead.
He had a good year this past year with the defense that had, I think, 10 seniors on the team. So I thought that was an awful hire. So I think people kept saying that Vol Twitter was delusionally wanting the splash hire. I'm sure that people wanted a splash hire. I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, it wasn't even that. It was that Tennessee was settling for hires that they knew they could at least do better than that. And I think after after seeing the Derek Dooley hire in 2010 that went against completely the wishes of the fans, seeing the Lane Kiffin hire in 2009 that split the fans, and then seeing the disaster of the Butch Jones hire. I don't really blame Dave Hart for the Butch Jones hire because I think he ran out of options at that point. But just seeing how Butch Jones turned out, I think the fans just kind of got sick of it.
Well, I would just say that with the Dave Doran, yeah, that was disappointing. But let's not forget, there was probably the opportunity to bring in a Mike Leach. Now, that's a splash hire. And now we have, instead of, I guess the question, would you rather have right now, just throw out the 80s out, Mike Leach or Jeremy Pruitt?
Oh, in a heartbeat, Mike Leach. And I agree. And that was
So how incompetent could the search have been before? That's the thing that I asked. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
The search was still incompetent because let's be clear on this. Mike Leach, I said from the start, Mike Leach and Jeff Brom were two of my top hires. I thought they'd be great for the Vols. The reason the search was still incompetent was because those should have been Curry's first two choices. By what metric do you go to Dave Doran and Greg Schiano before Mike Leach and Jeff Brom? I mean, again, it's like, I saw somebody tweet where it's like Tennessee had ranked the names of the coaches they wanted on a set of index cards. Some hurricane just blew them all and shuffled them up the wrong way.
What I'm going to ask though is, didn't it initially say that Mike Leach said, "No, I'm not that interested"? And I've been through these college coaching searches before. I have seen where somebody will turn down the job initially and then wind up being hired. That's what happened to Dave Wannstedt once, as a matter of fact. So, I mean, I don't know if, Leach was initially on the radar, and then it was, I don't know. And then I think they just, when they couldn't find somebody, eventually, they said, "Look, what do we need to do, Mike Leach, to bring you into Tennessee?" Looked like they had him, but then John Curry gets fired. And I guess this goes into, if there's an incompetence, how much manipulation do you think Phil Fulmer did? Because I just got through saying one generally doesn't go from fired football coach to the head of the entire department in 9 years with just based on memories of 20 years ago. You've got to do some sort of manipulation, some sort of continuing to woo people to get back into the fold, in my opinion. And so I'm asking you here, where, you talk about the incompetence of the hire. Yeah, it took 2 weeks to get him here, but shouldn't Fulmer have some of that blame of that incompetence?
Oh, I agree. Yes, he should. And I do think, and I'm with you, I think there was some behind the scenes manipulation with Fulmer. I'm not sure what. But I agree. Fulmer is benefiting from the fact that he's benefiting right now. History's being kind to him.
Sure.
Because of the fact that after his firing, Tennessee made a series of terrible hires that makes him look better in hindsight as a coach, and people forget how much the program was falling apart during his last 4 years there. So I definitely agree with you on that there was some behind-the-scenes manipulation, and he definitely deserves blame because as bad as it was with the Greg Schiano debacle, again, it wasn't even Mike Leach. My top choice, who I thought was even better, was Jeff Brom. And I actually believe the report that Tennessee had a deal inked with Brom because I can't see Jimmy Hyam putting his name to that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And I know. Go ahead.
I think that, again, for Chancellor Davenport to nix that deal because of a buyout issue was really, really kind of disturbing. So it's not just, Fulmer does deserve blame. Curry deserves blame, Jimmy Haslam deserves blame, and Chancellor Davenport herself deserves blame because they all had conflicting interests, and it led to a complete mess. But it all started because Curry and Haslam colluded against the wishes of the Tennessee fans to try to sneak in a terrible hire from the start. If they had settled on Jeff Brom from the start, you wouldn't have heard any of this.
I agree with you that Schiano was a terrible hire. I think it's because, frankly, and I mean, I had a Penn State graduate as a guest, Dustin Dopriak. I think he's covered the Vols before, covers them from SEC Country. He graduated from Penn State, and he, was a little skeptical about who knew what. There's some outsiders think every last person in State College knew what Jerry Sandusky was doing. I do know there were some jokes that were going around, but he said, you know what, I never heard about that until after the fact, that sort of thing. But then again, you're talking about a college student right there. This is somebody who has been alleged in Schiano that he knew. And to not believe that, you have to believe that Mike McQuarrie is a liar. I mean, that goes down to the bottom. So there's this scuttlebutt. I think for that reason, Schiano was you can't hire this person. You don't want that person leading your football program. Possibly his record in Tampa. The record in Rutgers, although it's only one game over 500, remember, he took maybe the worst program in all of college football, major college football, into a position where they could join the Big Ten. And so, you mentioned, yeah, go ahead. I'm just saying that, am I saying that Schiano was a terrible hire? Yes, but not based on his record at Rutgers. That's all I'm going to say. Caleb Calhoun, your rebuttal.
Okay, so I wouldn't sit there and say that he did a terrible job at Rutgers, but I push back on how people oversell a little bit of what he did at Rutgers. People forget this, but he still had losing records his first 4 years there, and it wasn't until after Miami, Virginia Tech, and Boston College left the Big East that he managed to start getting 8-9 wins. And yes, he had 1-11-2 season where Ray Rice and Kenny Britt just fell into his lap. And I give him credit for getting those guys, but I think if you're coaching in the Big East at that time after those three schools leave, if you're any decent of a coach, you could stumble into an 11-win season with the right talent coming in for a year. And so I think we saw with Butch Jones. Butch Jones was able to get 9 wins at Cincinnati in that conference, and he was a disaster at Tennessee.
He actually got 10.
I'm sorry?
He actually got 10. Well, I don't know if it was if they were still in the Big East or if it dissolved, but he won 10 one year with the Bearcats.
Yeah, that's right. He did. He won 10, and then he won 11 with Central Michigan 1 year in the MAC.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Schiano, I don't want to completely discount what he did at Rutgers because he did do a good job of making that program competitive. But we forget that I always felt like looking at Rutgers history that their failures were more about just a series of bad hires at coaches. I mean, that school does have an infrastructure to be pretty good as a major school in the North Jersey, New York City market. And when Miami, Virginia Tech, and Boston College lead the Big East, you have a decent infrastructure to start winning there. And which is why the Big Ten got them in there. I mean, again, the Big Ten now is in the New York City market because of Rutgers.
Yeah, I think it's more of a in that case, and for that matter, Maryland too, that the Big Ten wanted those markets more than they wanted Rutgers and Maryland. I mean, they wanted their network in the TV. Otherwise, you might have looked at another school like, say, I don't know, University of Pittsburgh or West Virginia, which probably would have been more competitive and all that. But they were in a smaller market. We're talking to Caleb Calhoun, who is he's the chief writer over at allfortennessee.com. And I'm telling you, Tennessee fans, in the offseason, you got to read this stuff because you're going to be coming out with so many good historical perspectives. I know you're going to be researching Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, people are going to know Jeremy Pruitt, the high school coach, after you're done in this offseason. I know that's because I know that's what you do here. I want to change the table a little bit here with you, Caleb. A lot of talk about T. Martin, a lot of rumors coming out. Peyton Manning doesn't like T. Martin. Is there any insight you can give to us about a potential Martin-Manning feud?
I don't know if I've heard different things. I've heard that about the potential Peyton Manning-T. Martin feud. I think a lot of that is just smokescreen rumors of people starting stuff because I had also heard on that came from message boards, similar to a message board that I had read last week after the Schiano debacle that Peyton Manning was behind the idea of hiring T. Martin as head coach. So I don't know what to believe on that. I think Peyton Manning is not looking too good right now in Knoxville. I do believe the Clay Travis report that Peyton Manning is trying to screw us up to the Haslam's in hopes of the Manning family owning an NFL team.
I believe that too,
Yeah, that does seem to be believable. And, I mean, we know as well as anybody that Peyton Manning has put his marketing, his image, and his success above anything else. And as much as he loves Tennessee, he's not going to do anything that would sacrifice his legacy and standing for the sake of anybody, including Tennessee. And so he's not looking great right now in that regard. But I don't necessarily believe the Peyton Manning T. Martin feud. Again, there may be some truth to it. If it is, it's kind of a John Elway mentality. I firmly believe John Elway in Denver. I'm not saying it was a bad move to push out Tebow, but I think he was a little jealous of the fact that he didn't bring in Tebow, and there's another quarterback getting a lot of love that's not him. And I tend to believe those reports about John Elway, so I could see maybe Peyton Manning has the same type
And I'm skeptical of that because, frankly, I mean, I've talked to pro football players, and usually, I mean, I'll talk to them and say, boy, this is a business here in the NFL, and, you know, their romanticism is for college. But Caleb Calhoun of All for Tennessee, you win 2 Super Bowls. You're the all-time NFL leader in passing yards. You know, you're not jealous of T. Martin because he's the guy that won a national championship. I mean, I remember talking to Darwin Walker in the Eagles dressing room, and he was going on and saying, yeah, winning the Super Bowl is a lot bigger than winning the national championship. Trust me on that. I mean, that was his conversation. So I'm not sure that Manning is jealous of Martin for the national championship. I really don't believe that. That's my opinion as well. Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com. It's reported now that Pruitt is going to stay on at Alabama as a defensive coordinator through Alabama's playoff run. Remember, Lane Kiffin stayed on the first semifinal game before getting the axe before the title game and then going to Florida Atlantic. My question is, how much do you think this is going to impact recruiting, especially with the December 20th early recruiting date? And for that matter, Trey Dean, a 4-star defensive back, decommitting to Tennessee just a couple of hours ago.
I think it could have a bit of a negative impact, but I mean, I don't think it's going to have as much of an impact as people might think. I mean, Kirby Smart did the same thing with Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? When he was hired by Georgia 2 years ago.
I'm not sure. I would tell you that, as I said before, I think Georgia had a bit more of a stocked cover than Tennessee does right now. I'll say that. But yes, I mean, obviously, I mean, Georgia may wind up winning the national championship this year. By the way, who was it that said the Georgia Bulldogs are going 12-0 this year?
That was you. I gotta give you credit for that.
People will say that I'm a little off. Oh, they were 11-1, I guess, but they're 12-1 now. So yes, anyway.
I would just add that even if it does have a bit of a negative impact on recruiting, I mean, again, I don't think you make a hire to save one recruiting class. I think that's what did Tennessee and was trying to hire Derek Dooley in 2010, was they were trying to save one recruiting class, and I thought their best move at that moment when Kiffin left would have been to hire C.P. Brown as don't even make him full-time. Give him an interim year and see if he works out, and then if he is a good coach, you can make him full-time. I just think that what Tennessee did, again, Tennessee itself is proof that you don't make a coaching hire to save one recruiting class. So that would be my argument on that.
The Trooper, who is a local semi-pro coach, asks, has Pruitt's contract been released yet? Caleb Calhoun, what do you know about that?
If it has, I hadn't read it yet. I know that the deal is done. I think one of the biggest advantages to Pruitt being hired is he's a defensive guru, so you know of one side of the ball locked up. And I'm sure the Hawks can get him for a little bit cheaper, so they probably have a good bit of money to throw around to get a pretty good offensive coach now.
So one thing I was going to ask, I mean, that's one place that you can spend your money on, but people are talking about the $100 million profit of Tennessee football. Absolutely, I think that's an advantage, but you're not bringing in free agents, at least we hope they're not, otherwise a probation is coming up. Where do you think where does that money really go to improve the program and the university in general?
I mean, well, we saw where there were, $340 million in renovations at Neyland Stadium?
True.
And I kept joking.
Yeah.
I kept joking when that was happening. I'm like, hell, take $5 million of that away just to make sure you get a good coaching hire. But, but yeah, I'm curious where that all goes too. I'm sure some of it goes to the academic department and things like that. But yeah, this is one of the reasons I've been arguing for a while. The ball should cut ties with the Haslam family. They don't need to have extra money right now.
That's a good point.
And that family's just toxic for Tennessee.
That's a good point. I'll ask you this. The expectations now that you have for Tennessee under Jeremy Pruitt, let's start with 2018 Caleb Calhoun of All for Tennessee. What are you looking out of the Vols for this upcoming season?
I'm honestly, and I'm doing this based on my track record of other SEC schools that hire defensive coaches as head coaches, I don't see much more than a 6-6, 7-5 year his first year, maybe even a little bit worse. It was another reason that Jeff Brom or Mike Leach would have been a more exciting hire. If you get a good offensive mind in, I mean, they can win immediately, and they can turn around a program immediately, whereas defensive coaches seem to take a little bit more time to get the infrastructure in place that they want. So I'm seeing 6 wins maybe next year. And then I think 2019 is the make or break year Pruitt, because I've always said this. It's something Clay Travis said, but I actually said it before him, which is you can always judge a coach by what they do in their second year, unless there's extenuating circumstances. And I think a second year is always a good measurement for whether or not a coach will work out. And Tennessee is not a program on probation right now. They're not a program that is losing scholarships. They're not where they were when Derek Dooley took over in 2010. So I think you can give Jeremy Pruitt a fair assessment by what he does in 2019.
Interesting. Hey, I'm looking at how Pat Narduzzi at Pitt got a 7-year extension after a 5-7 year. I guess they like that victory against Miami a lot here. Anyway, hey, I've got another question up here. Coordinators. Somebody is asking about Hugh Freeze, and I just want to preface: isn't Hugh Freeze, doesn't he have like a show cause, or am I incorrect on that? Caleb Calhoun from All for Tennessee.
I don't know if he has a show called. I think Hugh Freeze would be an awful offensive coordinator hire, not because he's not a great offensive mind, but I think that, we just saw what Ole Miss did this year offensively without him. And, let's call it what it was. Their offense wasn't the problem this year. So Matt Luke may have had a lot more of a hand in that than Hugh Freeze. And I think that on top of that, Tennessee literally just went out of the way to nick the hire for Greg Schiano because of connections to the Penn State scandal.
Yeah.
Freeze, yes, there's reports of them calling prostitution. That's not the same as child molestation, but I know this is dangerous to say, but I want to say that I'm still not so sure that he didn't just admit to that to cover for the idea that he was allowing hookers to contact recruits, at which case he could be facilitating child molestation. So, yeah. I know that's a dangerous thing to say, but it was just too suspicious.
I'll allow Motley Crue to call up escorts, but my football coaches, I don't necessarily want the same behavior that I would allow out of my drummer, to be honest with you there. Anyway, we're talking to Caleb Calhoun, All for Tennessee. Who are some of the... I know you wrote a very good piece saying don't hire the coach based on the coordinators that he can bring in. That being said, who would you like to see brought in as coordinators?
Well, on defense, even though I think Kevin Steele wins the 4-3 and Pruitt's experience is in a 3-4, I'm not against the idea of Kevin Steele as a defensive coordinator. He is a Tennessee guy. I know Gus Malzahn is locked up at Auburn, but again, Auburn fans could turn on him in a year again. That's how fickle he's been there. And even though I would never want Kevin Steele as a head coach, I was always baffled by them interviewing him as a head coach. I do think he can make it as a defensive coordinator, and I think honestly that might have been the reason Fulmer was interviewing him in the first place. As offensive coordinator, I'm not entirely sure yet. We have heard the name Hugh Freeze. I don't think. I can't see Fulmer even allowing that as athletic director because I don't want to get into it too much, but we heard some rumors on why Fulmer didn't even consider interviewing Mike Norvell, the Memphis head coach. And so I couldn't imagine him being okay with Hugh Freeze. I do think T. Martin is a possibility as offensive coordinator. I'm not so sure of that, though. I'm kind of in wait-and-see mode with the offensive coordinator. I'm not entirely sure where Jeremy Pruitt will go with that. But I do think he actually is smart enough to make the right decision there and make the right hire. And I think he's, again, because the ball probably got to the they would have gotten a head coach. They probably have some money to throw at an offensive coordinator right now. I'm just going to say this. Matt Canada isn't necessarily happy at LSU, interviewed for the Rice head football coaching job. He's the guy that turned Nate Peterman, the quarterback everybody in Tennessee thought stunk, into an NFL quarterback. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But there you go. And I'm just saying that's somebody out there that might be available. It'll cost you, but taking a guy away from a prestigious SEC program, and I'll tell you what, if that would happen, that would be the beginning of the end for Ed Orgeron at LSU. Caleb Calhoun writes for allfortennessee.com. Read his stuff. It's always great. We're going to come back next hour, continue to talk about this, continue to talk about possibly coordinators. Continue to talk. We got to talk about ETSU's ball game last night. They, I think, became a threat for the NCAA tournament again. Tri-City Sports Now.
You're back against all those uninvited.
Yes.